So, Chapter 4. Here we are, finally. I know it's been a while since I've been able to actually do one of these videos, but we are continuing the Halo Rubicon Protocol read-through. Hopefully you guys are good with this. Chapter 4 was a hell of a chapter. Definitely the most we've had for probably the previous couple of chapters. We've been setting the scene a lot. I know, getting to know characters and stuff, so it's kind of nice to have something big happen. Now, we'll get into the main plot points, and then I'll go into some of the minutiae and stuff like normal. So, starting off. After reading this, we now know this chapter takes place a few hours after the events of Chapter 3, because it's literally said by one of the guys in the lifeboats that we've been waiting for you for hours when talking to Spartan Horvath, yep. So, we can assume that he's not lying and that it has in fact been hours. Because that's how Chapter 3 ended, I believe. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure that's how it ended. We've got the fact that the banished artillery fire has still been continuing all this time. The fire team well, my accent came through massively then. That was terrible. Fire team Intrepid are together, because we've heard of Spartan Horvath in the previous chapter, but we didn't really know who he was with. Was he alone? What was going on? But now we know he is part... Well, we know he was part of a fire team, but we now know his fire team is with him. That's what I'm trying to say. We now know a bit more about Fire Team Intrepid themselves as well. Apparently they are disruptors. Their main cause in life is to cause chaos for the enemy, which is a very handy thing, and is kind of how I was playing Halo Infinite, thinking about it. They take out patrols, supply vehicles, scouting parties, support lines, etc. They've done all that since they've reached the surface of the ring. That literally is what I was doing as Chief, just going around just murdering everyone in sight. There you go, I'm disrupting the enemy. It's not wasting time. Oh, it's still wasting time. We now know there is also a main area where the Banished and UNSC is still fighting. We know obviously there's going to be fights going on, but there is at least one major area where a massive battle is currently happening. I think we had that alluded to a few times in Halo Infinite, that there were major fighting areas across the ring. Obviously some minor, some skirmishes, some pathetic little bits of probably people being hunted down and stuff, but like we're talking massive ship-to-ship battles and huge ground wars and stuff like that going on still. So I mean, it's only been like, what, a day? A day or two since they came down, or since the Infinity got ambushed, so it makes sense that the UNSC would still be fighting, because the Infinity obviously did have a lot more ships within it that could also be battling, so we see them scattered along, or scattered around Zeta Halo and Halo Infinite anyway. So, yep, there's that. We've got the fact that Intrepid ends up splitting forces, because they kind of go for a dual-prong thing. We've got Spartan Horvath is ordered to go and try and help the lifeboat that did the distress signal in the previous chapter. The main force of Intrepid goes to take out the banished AA guns. Now, originally the plan was to literally do that, just wipe them out. Then they thought, you know what? We could use these. So, the plan has turned to capturing the AA guns and turning them against banished forces, which will help clear the air, because, you know, it's an anti-aircraft gun, and hopefully give the UNSC troops a little bit of a breather from constant attacks from various aircraft and stuff. So that'll be kind of nice for the UNSC. It's not really going to help much, but it might help a bit, at least. Give them a little bit of territory back, or at least a bit of clear airspace for one particular grid, or I don't know how military things work, leave me alone. But even the Spartans at this point are starting to get exhausted, because they are on constant patrols, they are on constant engagements. That's not how English works, fuck it, it'll do. They are constantly attacking, defending, scouting, just, you know, doing all the disrupting. Basically, they're being severely overworked. If the Spartans are getting exhausted at this point, then you know that the regular UNSC troops have got to be starting to drop like flies. Because the Banished are going to outdo them. The Banished won't stop. The Banished are relentless in these kind of things. So, UNSC is severely outmatched, even in that regard. as well as obviously lacking constant reinforcements as well. But hey, that's a whole other point. One thing that I do really like about this chapter is that we found out that Fireteam Intrepid have a curse counter. Because apparently they have a bet to see who can curse the least during operations, by the sound of it. Which is just absolutely great. And it's nice that they inject a little bit of humour into it as well, because this situation is very dark. It's very serious. Like, it's very emotional. Between the connections between the characters are forming. And just throwing that in, it just gives you a little bit of a reprieve, breaks the tension a tiny bit. I know some people probably won't like that, but I do. I appreciate a bit of humour in these kind of situations, so I appreciate that at least. I'm sorry for those who don't. We've also, because I've written this down. I don't have time to edit this either, so we're literally just bullet pointing. Yes, there was a massive slipspace portal that, I was going to say erupted, it doesn't really erupt, it just opens. It opens, a slipspace portal that opened over Zeta Halo, which was quite a surprise for the people on the Halo, I'm sure. Massive energy distortion, static pressure increased, and a massive shockwave hit and tore up the land, causing sort of a land tsunami kind of thing with debris going everywhere. Spartan Hovath was caught up in it, managed to survive, though he was swept away for quite a bit, but managed to sort of snag a pocket of the plateau on the way down, so he managed to survive. Eventually the wave dispersed, though by the sound of it his armor was damaged, so his motion tracker went offline, no active camo, no long-range comms, so that kind of puts a bit of a dent in the lifeboat rescue operation, although it's very possible that lifeboat's not even there anymore. After that wave, it probably tore that lifeboat away. Although the lifeboat was heavily embedded, so depending on how heavily embedded, it might have had a slight chance, but I'm not hopeful for any survivors from those, unfortunately. And we'll get to those guys in a minute as well, because I've got lots of things to talk about here. So yeah, Zeta Halo ended the chapter by entering slipspace, which has got to be a beautiful sight. We do see a Halo in slipspace in Halo Wars 2, thinking about it, with Anders on the Halo right at the end. It did look absolutely beautiful, so would be a really cool gameplay section as well to have a Halo going through slipspace where you're just on the surface, just sort of screwing stuff up. It'd be great, but we probably never get it. But DLCs, maybe, possibly, future games, I don't know. Maybe I'll get my wish one day. But the very important part here is that the Halo began to break apart. Now, we know this happens because it's already happened by the time of Halo Infinite. And we also know why it's gone into subspace and all that stuff because... spoilers for Halo Infinite, I guess? Because Cortana did it as her last desperate attempt to stop the Banished from using Halo as a means of control, basically. So... Halo goes into subspace, gets fucked up, no Halo ring for the Banished. Of course, a lot of people are going to die, but Cortana's not really that bothered by these things anymore, so it's all good. So, that's pretty much the summary of, like, the big points of what happened in that chapter. Yes, the swear counter had to be counted as a big point, okay? It just did. So, going on to the characters from this chapter. We had the return of Thomas Hovath, obviously, because we've already talked about him. We've got some more specific details. In fact, we got a lot of details about this character. Now, I'm assuming this character is going to be a main character for a lot of the novel, due to the sheer amount that we got about him. So, first off, technical stuff, we now know that he uses a Anubis class Gen 3 Mjolnir armor with a desert camo pattern, which sounds pretty nice, to be honest. And has baffling sensors to hide his infrared signature as well, which is very nice. We know he's equipped with an MA5D assault rifle. We'll come on to that a bit later on, when we go cover some weapons and stuff. He has an AI named Elfie, which is a remarkable coincidence, because my daughter had a toy today, and we named that Elfie. Because it's an elf on the shelf thing. It's the first thing. I mean, she's like 7 months old, it's fine. And my highly original name for an elf was Elfie, so I just thought it was a really cool coincidence that I read a chapter and it was called Elfie in it. Moving on! So, Elfie is nicknamed Fee. which is a entirely original nickname, but it works. Elfie, Fee, yeah. We know he has night vision, which you'd think would be a given, but I'm not even sure if all Spartans actually have night vision. Because when we see, like, the Chief using stuff, he seems to always use torch, flashlight, whatever you want to call it, like, since CE, in Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 5, and Halo Infinite. He's always using that. So it's like, oh, the torch or helmet lights or whatever. I don't think we've ever seen him use night vision in a game. I've got a feeling we might have seen him use it in the novels, so that might just purely be a gameplay thing. I mean, night vision seems like a very basic thing that they would have to have. I mean, ODSTs have it, so surely all Spartans do as well. So, yeah. Anyway, there's a lot more to come from this. So impressions of this character that I got just from what we've got in this chapter, as well as the slight bit we had in the previous one as well. He seems quite confident, but he's also quite a bit of a realist. He doesn't believe in hoping things too much, but he doesn't see the point of worrying about things outside of his control. Although he does, one of the lines that I loved was, just keep going until the banished are wiped out on this ring. Or something along those lines. Which is quite a confident thing to think. But I guess you've got to think positively in those situations. Because if you don't think you're going to eventually win, then you're probably not. So it might be confidence born of ignorance, who knows. But there's definitely some confidence there. And he seems very concerned about the Infinity, which is understandable. I know a lot of people are. Everyone sort of commented, like, shit, how's the Infinity? Is the Infinity okay? Because it's the major flagship, so it shouldn't have ever gone down, as far as they're concerned. So it definitely makes sense they'd all be concerned about that. We've said that he was ordered to help the lifeboat. He's hoping to save the people, but realizes reality is generally a lot darker than that, especially when he's told about the condition of the people on the lifeboats. We know from the previous chapter that Kinney, I believe it was in a very dire state. So people like that probably aren't going to make it. You can hope for the best, but expect the worst, I guess, in those sort of situations. We did get a bit about his backstory, which was very unexpected but very interesting to me. So he comes from what I understood how this was written. It was written a bit weird to me, but I think he comes from a city called Cuic within a country called Cuic or Cuic. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have no idea. On the planet Alluvion. Now, the way it's written, it's said that Cuic is a country, but then it's also called a city later on. I know a lot of places in the world have like a country, and then they'll have a city also named like that country named city. So I'm assuming it's that kind of situation. If anyone's read that differently, feel free to leave that in the comments and whatever. That's how I've personally read it. He left the planet as a teenager. As we know, he misses his homeworld a lot, thinks that some of the best people in the galaxy are from that planet. He's very patriotic to that planet. He's quite protective of it. He joined the UNSC and became a soldier when the Covenant began glassing colonies. And that is the primary reason that he presumably left after the Covenant glassed his homeworld. After some point, don't know if this was during the war or after, probably during, I'd imagine, he shattered his spine, which for most people would be the end of their military career, because now I'm no medical professional here, but you've shattered your damn spine. That's pretty severe. You're not going to be doing a lot. So he thought that was the end of his career, but it turns out it wasn't, because he ended up getting selected for the Spartan 4 program, which definitely has what you'd call medical miracles involved. So that's his story of how he ended up in Spartan 4, I suppose. Now, if the planet hadn't been glassed, they did sort of a little bit of a what if there, then he might have gone to Grad University. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right as well. I have no idea. Though, by the sound of it, he was quite a disruptive person in school or college or whatever, because His teachers didn't think he'd last a year due to his disruptive tendencies. So, poor guy, I guess. Although it doesn't really matter because the Covenant wiped that out anyway, so can't really go to a university that's made of glass. Well, I suppose you could if it's standing. That's a whole other discussion. However, he's now cut off from his team, the rest of Fireteam Intrepid, due to, well, them diverging paths and then the Halo literally breaking around them. Which is a pretty decent obstacle, honestly. I mean, after playing Halo Infinite, those different bloody sections. Like, some sections are easy to get to, some sections I just wait until I've got a wasp and then just fly to, because it's just a pain in the ass otherwise. Moving on! We have also got the introduction of a new character. Hopefully I'm saying this right as well. C. Wheeler, I want to say, is how you pronounce his name. He's the Fireteam Intrepid leader, also a Spartan 4, presumably. Him and the rest of his squad goes to check on the artillery guns. They might have the worst potty mouth of the whole Spartan branch. At least that's what Thomas Hover thinks. And that's also where the swear counter thing originates from, because he thinks he doesn't have that bad of a tendency to swear. Or curse, whatever you want to call it. But other Spartans certainly disagree with him, so that's where the bet originates. Good detail, good detail. We've also got the return of Lucas Browning, the combat medic from the previous chapter. We found out this is his first engagement, which, man, does that suck. This is not a great situation for your first time out. He has been in simulated combat before, presumably in the war games and such, many times, so he has experience, just not real experience. He also comes from the planet Alluvion, the same as Thomas Horvath does. Which they found as a little bit of sort of a way to bond together, because they can sort of talk about their homelands and, you know what people from like that would do. When you meet someone from your own country in another place, which you're really unexpecting, and then not expecting rather. Why can't I English today? Yeah, you know, it's fine. It's fine. So we found out that when he was a kid, he was evacuated. He was born in Vaslo, which I'm presuming is a country. Could be a city, though. It doesn't really specify. But he went to... Actually, no, I think it does specify. No, it does specify Vaslo is a country. Yes, because it's the other one that was the city in the confusion. Yes, Vaslo is a country. Ignore me. He went to primary school in Porgery, which I'm assuming is another country, or maybe that's going to be a city in Vaslo. That bit's never really specified. It's all good that bit isn't. I'm presuming that Lucas Browning is probably dead after the whole Slipspace incident, but that is not confirmed yet. That's purely my prediction, so we'll see how that progresses in future chapters, if they come back to it or not. It might just be, here's a character, you really like this guy, he's so nice, and he's lost forever. Get screwed. And we also get Kinney mentioned again, just a little bit of an update on their condition, that the fact that they're near death, and there's a very slim chance of survival if they can get them to a medbay. Although the chances of that happening in this situation are extremely slim, so we're probably still talking Rip Kinney, which is unfortunate. So, moving on to some of the locations. Or rather, well, I suppose the only location, as we mentioned, is Alluvion, so we'll talk Alluvion a bit. A bit of what do we know about this place from previous Halo stuff? It has been a few things. It's not really a standout planet to me, but it has been mentioned before. It was located by the Covenant in 2541 and was invaded by Thelavadami, aka, well, most people know him as the Arbiter, the Halo 2 Arbiter, Halo 3 Arbiter and Halo 5 Arbiter, I suppose, in 2542, and was finally glassed in 2543, and by 2544 there were no signs of human life left on the planet. Another notable little point was that Spartan Gabriel Thorne's parents died there when the Covenant glassed it. That was also his major career thing as to why he became a Spartan in the first place, and that was all tied back to Spartan Ops. I don't think the planet was mentioned directly in Spartan Ops, but I guess it's a indirect sort of allusion to it, at least. So the planet itself has previously appeared in stuff. We've had it kind of appear in Halo 5, because technically all the multiplayer maps are wargames simulations, so we've had a simulated version of it in Halo 5 for the maps Escape from Ark and Dispatch, so if you want to know what the planet looks like, go play those maps. It has previously been in the comic series Escalation, where we actually do get to see the Covenant glassing occur. And it's also in the Halo 2 Anniversary terminals as part of Spartan Locke's report of the various glassed planets of the UNSC. You see it sort of like briefly like pop up as a planet with the name, and just as you're going by with the rest of the planets, really. And it's also briefly mentioned in the novel Oblivion as well. And that's about it for Oblivion that I can remember, at least. So, moving on. Vehicles. We had Phantoms come back in this chapter. Not really a surprise. Only briefly, though. We had 5 Phantoms that just went over the Fireteam Intrepid's position, heading for the main UNSC banished battle site. And that's pretty much it. That's what kind of gave them the idea to take over the AA guns and hopefully use them to prevent more Phantoms from getting to the site. That's literally the entire Phantom stuff of that chapter. We've got a bit of information about the Infinity, that it was retrofitted over Earth. Now, I'm presuming that they're referring to the fact that it got damaged. I believe in, like, around Halo 4 Spartan Ops sort of time. I mean, but it's possible that it could be another retrofit, because I know that they went to Earth in Halo Escalation, which was after... Wait, was that after Spartan Ops? I want to say it's after Spartan Ops. I think it's after Spartan Ops. Or is it? No, because they died out. Oh no, either way. They went back to Earth at some point. I'm trying to get the timeline straight in my head. There's so much post-war stuff now. So yeah, they went back to Earth. They were retrofitted there. It's possible that could be an excuse for why the models look slightly different between the games, maybe. Because I think the Halo Infinite model of the Infinity looks slightly different from the Halo 4-5 sort of version of it, so... Like, it looks different because it was changed, I guess. That kind of thing. That's pretty much it. The interest for the Infinity in that chapter. The Bumblebee makes a reappearance as well, because we've got the lifeboat people still, so... Yeah. We found out that the windshield is made of a tempered glass composite and is extremely difficult to break. To even crack it requires extreme impact speeds, and it's cracked, so it's an absolute miracle that anyone even survived on board it. I didn't really find out anything else about it other than that, so that's pretty much it for vehicles. Not really a lot of vehicle stuff going on in this novel so far, honestly. Other than the intro, I suppose. Chapter 1 definitely had a lot of vehicle stuff, but since then, not so much. And the weapon that we had, the MA5D, it's a standard issue weapon of the post-war era. We've seen it, it's the assault rifle that you use in Halo 4, Spartan Assault, Halo 2 Anniversary Multiplayer, Spartan Strike, Halo 5, and I think it's the assault rifle that the Marines use in Halo Wars 2? I think? I could be wrong, though. I'm pretty sure it is in Halo Wars 2 somewhere, but it might be in one of the cutscenes. Or maybe the MA5D is the cutscene assault rifle, and then maybe they use the MA5B as the gameplay one or something. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's in Halo Wars 2 somewhere. It's also appeared in the actual film stuff like Forward Unto Dawn and Nightfall, comics, Escalation and Lone Wolf, and as well as novels such as Last Light, Bad Blood, and Point of Light. And the only species that appeared in this entire chapter are humans. Foreigners were mentioned very briefly, just like foreign architecture and stuff. Foreign things were sweeping into the air because the Halo's exploding and stuff. So, not exploding, you know what I mean? That's about it. Not really a lot going on with different species. We haven't really had much banished stuff happen for a bit. Hopefully, with stuff kicking off like this, hopefully Chapter 5 will include a lot more stuff. I still would love to get a banished perspective of all this, but we're 4 chapters in, so I'm not really hopeful that's going to happen now. But hey, I can dream. So Chapter 5, maybe we'll get a banished thing, or even if we like get humans eavesdropping on banished comms and they can do it that way, that'd be fine. I honestly have no idea where we're going to go next chapter. Because it seems each chapter we're going to a different character. So I have no idea if we're going to cycle back around to Spartan Stone from the beginning, or if we're just going to stick with Spartan Horvath, or are we going to find out what happened to the lifeboat people, or we're going to go to someone completely new? Are we going to go to maybe Spartan Wheeler and see how the rest of Fire Team Intrepid are doing with the AA gun situation after the split? Maybe. I have no clue where we're going with this, and I kind of like that I have no clue where we're going with this. It makes each chapter's a bit of a surprise, so that's good. And I think that's about it for this video then. So, I'm hoping to do more editing on these in the future, like maybe add some background music or put in some gameplay stuff so I can show you guys like from the previous stuff. Like, because I can always do screenshots of some of the comics as well, throw those in. And as long as I remove the text, it's okay, or something like that. Yeah, just at the moment, I haven't really got a lot of time. Things are crazy, and I've got medical crap going on, and I've got appointments left, right, and centre, and it's bad at the moment. So I'm trying to get content out, but yeah, it's a struggle sometimes. So I'm not sure when the next video this is going to be. I am trying to fit these in. Bear with me, and I'll try and get these out as soon as I can. So thank you very much to everyone who's been watching. I truly, truly appreciate you taking the time to watch this. If you liked the video, feel free to like it. I would appreciate it. It helps the channel out as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to just get more content. Obviously, there's gameplay stuff that happens here as well. We've got some other film review stuff coming in the future as well, hopefully, if I get time to. That's the problem at the moment. And that's about it. There's a Discord server as well. Link will be in the video description if you want to join that. There you go. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.